Welcome to Latin with Andy, Code Breakers. These videos are to help you follow along with the Code Breakers at-home worksheets, so if you have not downloaded them, please click the link, purchase them, and subscribe so that you can further enhance your Latin experience. Today we are going to be talking about subjects and their relationship to verbs. And now is the time where we find a very large English word that people made out of a simple Latin word. Our first vocabulary word we're looking at is Hortus, hortī, which means garden. Now, a very big English word that people have made out of this is horticulture, which basically just means gardening. So that might help you remember that hortus means garden. Our second vocabulary word is Fīlius, fīliī, which means son. Now, one large word that we've made out of that is affiliate, which kind of has to do with your relationship to someone else, if you're affiliated. That might help you remember that Fīlius means son. Now let's get on to translating. Remember, when it comes to translating with a subject and a verb, you have to make sure that the subject matches the verb in number. That's the key to making sure your subject is actually the subject. So let's look at this example here and see how it works out. As you can see, the ending on poetā is that A, which makes it a masculine singular nominative noun. Now if we look at the verb, we can see that it ends in a T, not an NT. Remember, the T means that it's singular. The NT means it's plural. So since it's a T, that means it's singular. And since the subject and the verb are both singular, that means that this sentence can work out and poetā and is actually doing the action of the seeing. So the poet sees the forest. And if we look over on the right, we just see why didn't. Now, how does that work? Where's the subject? Well, actually, the subject is hidden in the verb. We're going to use the little pronoun when we write our flashcard. We write they see. We're actually going to be using that they. Because this verb is plural, we're going to be using they instead of he, she, or it. So this actually right here is one whole sentence, meaning they see. As simple as that. Alright, code breakers, we got this. Let's crack this code. Deus gloriam terrae videt. Let's go one word at a time and identify the gender, number, and case. Deus is our first word, and you can see it in your word bank. Deus Dei, which means God. Okay, so looking at that I, this is a second declension masculine noun. So that ending right there is going to be masculine, and then looking at our key, we see singular nominative. Alright, that means God is going to be the subject of this sentence. Next word, gloriam. We see it there in our word bank, gloria, gloriae. That's a first declension noun. And since it means fame or glory, it's not naming an occupation, then that means it's going to be feminine. So this is a feminine, and then looking at our ending, the am, we see singular accusative. Cool. Now we have terrae. Uh-oh. This ending right here is that one that has those three possible forms. A little scary. Terra terrae means earth or land. It's first declension and is going to be feminine. So the three possible endings are feminine singular genitive, feminine singular dative, or feminine plural nominative. So which one is it going to be? Well, here's a trick right here. Automatically, I can already cross out the nominative plural option. Why? Well, actually, because we already have a subject. Now you may ask, how do you know which one it's going to be? Well, the thing is, Deus actually only has one option on what ending it could be, and what job it's going to be doing. So since it has to be subject, then we can't really have another subject, so we can cross out the nominative plural. Now all we have left is our dative option or our possessive noun adjective. Which one is it going to be? Well, we already have a direct object, so that there's a possibility of there being an indirect object, but once again we have a verb that doesn't work with indirect objects. He, she, it sees is not one of our verbs, like gave, that could work with an indirect object. So we can cross that one out as well. All that's left is for it to be a possessive noun adjective, modifying gloriam. Alright, last thing we check is our verb to see if it's singular or plural. And looking at that T instead of an NT, that means it's singular. And thankfully, that means it matches with Deus, our subject. So we're going to translate this starting with Deus, our subject, and then our verb, our direct object, and our possessive noun adjective. So, God sees the glory of the land. Now notice I used an of phrase for that possessive noun adjective. Another way you could say this is, God sees the land's glory. So we have two options to translate this. This really depends on preference. Phew, we made it! Good job, code breakers. Make sure and review your vocabulary cards, practice declining your second declension nouns as always, and then don't forget, the subject will always match the verb in number. See you next time.